Hi, everybody. I'm Lisa Burwell, your host of VIE Speaks Conversations with Heart and Soul. I'm very excited today. We're still in season 4, and it's just been a great blessing to be able to be making this podcast for the last 4 years. We started the podcast to be an extension of storytelling so that we're having a lively conversation with people that we tell stories about in the magazine, but we can tell it in technicolor and real life, and it really does extenuate the storytelling and bring it up close and personal. Today in studio, I have a very um, well informed, well equipped visionary, builder, entrepreneur, real estate exec, philanthropist, a designer, an inventor, and a visionary, and many, many more things. Michael Carey, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. So, you own Stock and Trade, which, if you live in our area and you drive by 98, it is impossible to miss because it's 75,000 square feet of a beautiful building with gorgeous furniture in it. And it's just a very impressive landmark on 98. And you have a rich story and a background about how you got to where you are right now. We got to share some time on Monday that really opened my eyes to knowing you better, that I just can't believe like all you've done and all you've accomplished and what you've done. So we'll get into it. So tell us, how did you start Stock and Trade? And you can go back to the storytelling that you said to me on Monday.
I'll give you the abbreviated
Okay.
version.
Okay.
It started back. I began in construction in high school. I used to clean houses in high school, sometimes before I went to school, and then in the afternoons. And I began a passion for kind of construction and that aspect of it. And that was the career path that I was going down. I ended up getting sidetracked and got into law enforcement, which we'll probably come back to later. But I still always had a passion for construction and
Mhm.
architecture. And so I came back to it, and I got my builder's license, and I started building houses, and primarily for myself, renovations and stuff. And at the time, I was buying some old condos in Gulf Shores.
Mhm.
I love this area. I fell in love with this area coming. Used to come on vacation here, but this was far out of my budget, and so I had to go to Gulf Shores, and I bought in some of the oldest condos that were in Gulf Shores, and I would renovate them myself and um, furnish them. And so that's how I got kind of connected with the furniture industry.
Mhm.
And I had a connection with somebody that was owned a furniture store, and so I would go to market and buy furniture for these units. And it just excited me at the time. This was the furniture industry was really hopping. This was
Mhm.
like '04 and
Mhm.
'03 and '04, and things were really good. And the excitement around the furniture industry was something like I'd never experienced before.
Mhm.
And so, at the time I was like, hey, this is something I would love to get involved in.
Mhm.
And so I started putting feelers out about, locations and everything, but the economy was really good. There was nothing to be had. It was all high dollar. And so when '08 and '09 started rolling around and the economy turned, I had an opportunity to lease a building, a little 10,000 square foot building. Um, and I was like, this is our opportunity. I had some people that were wanting to partner with me, but
Mhm.
I went to them and I was like,
Mhm.
hey, I finally got a building. We can get rolling. And they were like, this is the worst economy ever. And I was like, I was already sold myself on it.
Right.
So I just did it. And I went to the landlord and I was like, hey, I want to lease this building. And he's like, where's your business plan? And I was like, well, I don't really have a business plan. And fortunately, he had faith in my vision,
Mhm.
and so I began my furniture industry, the furniture aspect of it, by I would go to auctions, antique auctions, usually in the evenings, Friday nights, Saturday nights. I would buy antiques. I would bring them back. Me and one other guy would paint them and distress them, and that was the whole shabby chic era. And that's really how it began.
Mhm.
Buy a truckload of furniture, of
Mhm.
antiques, paint them,
Mhm.
distress them,
Mhm.
put them on the floor. I was putting them on the floor. I was taking them off the floor. I was delivering them to people's homes.
Mhm.
It was a one man show,
Mhm.
with is in regards to that. And I had, just family. Had no paid employees really at the time,
Mhm.
family and volunteers.
Mhm.
And
So you have to have like a design sensibility or good taste or aesthetics. So was shabby chic in style at the time, or
yes,
it was? And so you just looked at that opportunity, you liked it, you knew it would sell, and then you figured out a way to basically refurb some
yeah.
of these things when you were going to auctions and whatnot, and then people were buying it.
Yeah, I had no money.
Right.
Couldn't had no money to start a business. I sold my house and moved into a garage apartment of my mom's with my wife and
Wow.
a newborn.
Yeah.
And we lost money for many, many years.
Hmm.
We worked for free. Luckily, I had another job that put food on the table. But yeah, at the time, shabby chic was
Yeah.
hot.
Hmm.
As
Hmm.
fast as I could get. And we
Right.
would get the oldest, roughest antiques. We would repair them. We'd paint them,
Hmm.
and I did that for years before I got into new furniture,
Hmm.
and then eventually bought $750 worth of new furniture, um, from a rep. I
Hmm.
tried to buy from many people. Nobody would even listen to me because I was a nobody.
Hmm.
And the rep that I still communicate with weekly today and lives here on the 30A area
Mhm.
with me, ironically,
Wow.
he sold me my first $700 worth of
Mhm.
furniture.
Right.
And that's really was my tiptoe.
Mhm.
Sold, got $700,
Mhm.
turned around, sold it, bought
Mhm.
$1,200, turned around,
Wow.
sold it, just kept doing it.
Amazing. So you had to have immense faith in what you were doing that it was going to succeed, and a vision for what you liked and what you thought people would like. You did mention to me on Monday that you don't go into other people's stores. You're not trying to copy anybody. You're just basically presenting and selling what you like and or what you think is going to sell. So take me back a little bit at the beginning when you basically were putting the goods in your store and stock and trade that were unlike what everybody else was doing here, and how was that perceived, received when you opened the doors?
Yeah, so after a couple years of business in Birmingham, we had the opportunity to try this area, and we came down, and you know my aesthetics is a very neutral palette, and kind of a minimalist type
Mhm.
of approach, and then you can accessorize on that. And I had an incredible design team. And we come down with linens and
Mhm.
whites and hair on hide and things of that nature.
Mhm.
And that was not real popular in the area at the time. And some of the people that I'd hired to work in the store were like, "You can send all that back to Birmingham and all that's not what people down here want." And I never went in any stores down here. That wasn't, like, I just knew that the trend was,
Mhm.
what the trends were, and we just stuck to them, and we had remarkable
So it
success.
didn't take very long for people to
No,
like it, right? So
no,
you
we
you
had
you were
so
onto something and you knew it and you stayed the course. So it's really great that you were able to, that saying like, don't lose your day job, right? So I mean, it was really good that you were able to do that. But one question I didn't ask you before now is, what would your fellow police department think of you when you were like, definitely like, it's not the stereotypical thing that somebody would do who was in your position? Like,
yeah.
would they think it was funny? Would they be supportive of what you were doing?
You know, they didn't even know. I
Okay.
kept them so separate,
Okay.
because honestly, law enforcement was kind of an escape from me. That's where, I could go, and, I didn't have the stress of being the business owner and paying the bills and everything. I was able to completely
Ah,
disconnect. And,
and
the,
do that job.
it
Yeah,
completely,
that's interesting.
and, they knew that, I owned furniture store. They knew I was doing this here and doing that there, but like they didn't understand the scale of it. And I was able to really disconnect from it. I worked a lot of nights, so I
Mhm.
would work from 11 o'clock at night till 6 in the morning.
Mhm.
Um, and, those were that that was to me, I was able to that was the time I was able to get business off out of my mind and
Mhm.
focus strictly on my job there.
Mhm.
And then as soon as morning came around, I would take a nap, and
Mhm.
then I would be in the business, and I would be there for 10, 12 hours, and then I would go and take a nap, and then
Wow.
go back into law enforcement. And I was really able to disconnect the two. And some of the
Mhm.
guys that worked under me didn't
Mhm.
even know what I did.
Wow. That's pretty impressive, but you didn't have very much sleep.
No, I don't.
Okay.
Looking back on it now, I don't know how I did
I
it.
know, you probably couldn't do it now
No,
because you probably had so much adrenaline to do what you were doing, and adrenaline is a big help,
in
when you're
youth.
doing that, and youth, yeah, both of those things. So much has happened in between there, one of them being that you and I both, as business owners, survived and I guess thrived after the 2008 stock market crash, and you just kept the course and kept
Yeah.
going too, which is a feat in and of itself to have survived that, stay in business, and then, be on the other side of it. And then how many years ago was it when you bought, I call it your compound on 98? Is it 30 acres?
15, about
15
15
acres,
acres.
okay,
Yeah.
which is a lot of acreage on 98, where stock and trade is, and then you have like a, I'll let you explain it, but almost like a campus type setting, community
Right.
setting, resort style.
Yeah. So when I was still new to business ownership, and so we came down here, like in 12, 12 and 13 in that era, and it was still extremely soft. We just came down here, signed a 1-year lease to test the market. Came down with our vision,
Mhm.
not knowing whether it would work or not. Didn't have a whole lot of risk in it, but I saw definitely a future. So at the time, there wasn't a whole lot online, so I printed out, every single tax record from Destin to
Mm.
Panama City, and started looking at land that was for sale and own. And I kind of had a vision. It's not what it ended up being, but
Mhm.
um, landed on this land. I originally purchased just a couple acres, and then as my vision started growing, I needed a little bit more land, and so I had to buy the whole thing. Which, now looking back on it was just meant to be.
Oh.
And it had a development order on it, and so that's where I scrapped the original vision for stock and trade, and we started fresh, and that's the direction that we're headed now.
So you intended to put an apartment complex on the space right now that is going to be Harlan's Place
Right.
Foundation. And that segues into the fact that you are having your debut fundraising sort of coming out party for Harlan's Place with your Gatsby Gala. That is very exciting. And that is taking place September 21st. This is one of the many reasons that we're having this conversation with you, too, is to bring awareness to this charity. Harlan is your 7-year-old son who is adorable. And I love your video that you made with him too. It's really endearing and, just sort of says it all. But for our audience listening and watching right now, can you sort of take the story back to when Harlan was born and how where you are right now is pouring into a new vision that was birthed from that?
Yeah. You know, Harlan was a blessing.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
From
Mhm.
the time that we found out that he, excuse me, that he had Down syndrome, you know, in Birmingham with
Mhm.
some of the best resources available to us. Um, we had doctors, some of the best doctors that told us we need to terminate this pregnancy.
Mhm.
That there's too many complications, too
Mhm.
many down the road issues to
Mhm.
deal with.
Mhm.
And, a hole in the heart, undeveloped lungs, things like that.
Mhm.
You know, number one, I was frustrated. I was like, how can anybody make that decision?
Mhm.
And so we walked out of that meeting and
Mhm.
I was like, this is not our decision to make.
Mhm.
It's God's decision.
Mhm.
So, I've, in my career, I've dealt with a lot of death, dealt with
Mhm.
a lot of tragedy and everything. And so, I've always been able to kind of disconnect from that.
Mhm.
And so, um, it didn't hit me, I was like, this, I'm not going to worry about any aspect of this other than what we have control over.
Mhm.
And the control is that, God will make that decision.
Mhm.
And so Harlan was born. Of course, he had major complications, was in intensive care for a while, still had, a hole in his heart and everything. But relatively speaking, he was in great health.
Mhm.
And so, you know, he's just a blessing.
Mhm.
He has, he is so happy and he's, what he has given us
Mhm.
as a family and given my other children and everything.
Mhm.
It's just a blessing. He ever since he's come down here, what he his everybody in the community is starting to know him. They
Mhm.
call him. He was at Bay Elementary. They call him the mayor of Bay. And anyway, it's just
Really?
we can't go anywhere
Mm.
without somebody saying, "Hey, Arlen."
Oh, that's
I
so
mean,
cute.
he is just such a breath of fresh air.
Uh,
He is so loving and it's just amazing. So anyway, back to this. I know that there's challenges
mhm.
from now on, and so I was looking at like what does his future hold, and so in when we're gone, what do we have planned for him? I don't want his siblings to have to, it just be understood that somebody has to care for him or whatever. I want them to have, be uninhibited on what their possibilities are. And they might fight over him as to
Mhm.
who lives with him,
Mhm.
who he lives with and
Mhm.
everything. But like, I just wanted the opportunity, if they're doing their own things, I don't want them to be controlled by, something like that. And so I started planning for his future and I was like, I want this, I want that, I want him to be pushed to, I want him to work a job, whether that's, it might not be 40 hours a week, but I want him to work. I want him to volunteer in the community. I want
Mhm.
him to do, I want him to do this. I want him to do, and so I started looking at like, what does that look like? Where would that be? And I just didn't find what I was looking for. I was
Mhm.
like, how much money do I have to
Mhm.
try to save up for it? And um, I just I didn't see what I was looking for, and was talking to the attorneys about trusts and what does this look like in caretakers and things, and I was like, that's just not what I envisioned. And I was literally sitting there with the plans that we had just developed for this apartment complex there on the district site, and we had just finished it. It was 3 units, and we had all the details done, and we're ready to almost break ground. And I was like, my answer sits right here. Like, this is it. This can give, the vision that I want for him. And instead of worrying about just him, we can impact hundreds and thousands of lives.
Mhm. So talk about what that means. I think your proposed living quarters would be for 30,
60.
60.
Mhm.
Okay, which is amazing. And if you can sort of expound and tell the story about all the different activities and the swimming pool and everything that
Yeah.
you're going to have there, that would be their daily life and where they would be able to be independent 60 different people of not just Down syndromes, but other disabilities as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the way, so I began thinking about, what I want his life to look like.
Mhm.
I want him to be pushed. I want him to be inspired. I want him to find something that he's passionate about. But like those things you find, a job, but how do you get to the job? Like who does that? To and from work, to and from doctor's appointments and things. And so I was able to partner with an incredible architect out of Atlanta, and he took it passionately to take my vision
Mhm.
and like cram it all into this little 2 acres.
Mhm.
And what it is yeah, it's an apartment building,
Mhm.
but the entire first floor is the heart of it.
Mhm.
And that is where we, of course, will have a pool, we'll have a gymnasium, but it's more than that in that it's, it's going to have a dining hall and cafeteria, but it's going to have all of the resources, the occupational
Mhm.
therapy, the physical therapy, the life skill counseling, and it's going to be a place to where you live independently. You have an apartment
Mhm.
just like
Mhm.
everybody else, just like every other apartment building down
Mhm.
here. A private apartment that you can decorate to to your
Mhm.
liking,
Mhm.
but you've got the resources. You have somebody that helps you put a schedule together,
Mhm.
that is out helping you find a job, taking you to the job, taking you to your appointments. um, if you're passionate about animals, helping you volunteer at the animal shelter, or helping you, volunteer at so many other nonprofits,
Mhm.
everything that makes us fulfilled in
Mhm.
life,
Mhm.
just giving them those opportunities,
Mhm.
and, and helping, just putting guardrails up for them
Mhm.
so that, they're exposed
Support.
to it.
That's an infrastructure of support for them to be able to do that. It's such an amazing vision, and I know you have an unbridled passion for it, and that costs a lot of money, but that's okay because people certain people have a lot of money, and it is such a amazing thing to create, to build, and to see come to fruition. Um, and what I have felt, and I think we agree on this because you touched on it earlier when we met, in that you have to have it be privatized. Because if it isn't privatized, then you will not be able to see that vision that you outlined realized because it doesn't work within those parameters.
Yeah.
So you've got to invent and forge a new way to create something um, amazing. And I hope you get it sooner than later. But here we are, exciting times to talk about the kickoff. And let's just talk about, because it is about raising money. So let's just talk about money, even though really people don't like talking about it, but it's okay. How much would it cost to birth it, build it, get everything retrofitted inside, have operating costs for, your counselors and your staff to get it up and running? Don't even talk about what it would cost annually to operate, but just make that thing. So how much would that be?
Yeah. About 22 million.
Okay. And I think you had said something like 18 or 20, and I'm like,
Yeah.
that's not that much.
In the scheme of
In the
things, the way
scheme,
that some
it,
people
it
write checks is.
yes, in the scheme of things, there are people with hearts of gold, and they have resources, and there's nothing like it. Do you know of anything like this that exists in the country today?
No, I have found some great, incredible programs.
Hmm.
They're all a little bit different. I've even found some out of the country, but nothing like this. What I don't want, and everybody's like, well, you have to bring in a third party, provider, and
Hmm.
you have to do insurance billing and
Hmm.
stuff like that, to make it profitable and everything. And I'm like, but that goes against the vision. Like,
Hmm.
if you don't have to live there to be able to benefit from the resources. If you have a 7-year-old child with autism or Down syndrome or what, a traumatic brain injury, and you need some type of services, I want you to just walk in the door and we figure out how to put you on the schedule. Like,
Hmm.
here's the schedule.
Hmm.
And if we can bill back later,
Hmm.
great. But that's not the point. It's not fill out all this
Hmm.
paperwork and in 6 months we'll tell
Hmm.
you if we were
Hmm.
able to work it out. Like,
Right.
that's not. And so that's the problem with, like, with trying to do some type of outside,
Hmm.
second party provider. I just want us to
Hmm.
be able to provide the services to the community, and then we'll figure out how to pay for it later, I
Right. Right.
guess.
Well, that is a altruistic and a heartfelt mindset to go into something, and that's what I believe that people have to do great things. because if you are always thinking about and constrained to, oh, I can't really do this because it's going to cost too much money, then nobody would ever do anything great. They would only do things mediocre. And I don't think you're a mediocre kind of guy. I definitely know that I don't ascribe to mediocrity. Do the best that I can, the best that you can, right? The absolute best that you can. So, we plan events and we have a marketing company in the magazine. So we do plan a lot of events. But I will have to tell you that where do you get the sort of party planning events chops that you seem to have right now? Because we're impressed.
I don't know. It's like a collaboration.
Okay.
I have an amazing team, and
Uh-huh.
they a lot of visionary, a lot of
Yeah, that's good.
designers, and
Yeah.
people that are just always looking for inspiration and
Uh-huh.
stuff. And so this event, we're like, we want this to just be something like magical, like it's
Sounds like it
something
will be.
different, and
Hmm.
something that everybody will be looking forward to every year, and and spreading the word about the
Right.
cause, and
Well, let's continue to hype it up because I'm so excited about it. And this is all your vision and your teams with the huge floral display that you're
yeah.
going to have emulating it from the movie and the poker table. I'll let you do it. This is your vision. You tell.
Well, Great Gatsby, who didn't have to read that in our era? I don't know that they're still reading them today, but I remember reading it and having to do all the book reports on it and everything, and it was always an interesting movie, and it's just fun. It's a good era,
Yes.
a fun era, and
Mhm.
so I was like, let's. You don't see a whole lot of them, and
Uh-huh.
it gives you an opportunity to do something kind of fun and a little bit naughty with the whole prohibition
Uh-huh.
type thing. And so
Uh-huh.
I'm like, so what I'm kind of envisioning, we're going to do it there at the Stock and Trade building.
Mhm.
Is we got 75,000 square feet to play with, and um, we're going to have a jazz band, and we're going to have some dancers, and we're going to have reenacting the tea scene, where he brings Daisy in. You have all the white flowers, and we're going to have some opportunities to do some photo ops and do reenactments of that scene. And then yeah, so I was like, oh, we really should do like a kind of like a little speakeasy scenario. So we're going to take the Stock and Brew Cafe and turn it into a little
Mhm.
speakeasy. And I'm had some tables made at our factory in Indonesia. And we're going to have these poker tables, and we're going to
Wow, that's so
have
good.
a little speakeasy tucked away,
Yes.
and some exciting things. A hip hop violinist coming from California,
Can you tell me the name of that person again?
Josh Vietti.
Okay. And he is similar in the ilk of music if people know of Lindsey Sterling,
Yeah.
which is how do you describe that?
It's just
Actually,
like a hip hop, exciting, violinist, engaging. There's going to be a lot of dancing and, involvement. It's going to be fun.
mm, wow, I bet if you wanted to every Friday and Saturday night keep that the whole speakeasy going, that could be a whole other
We
revenue
might have
stream.
to do that.
You might because there isn't anything like that here,
No.
and that sounds so amazing. So what are your expectations that evening, and how many tickets are left so that we can get people excited about attending, and everyone is welcome who wants to be part of the whole fun. I know you have a lot of sponsors, but you need more sponsors, and I think Men's Warehouse and Destin is going to be one of your sponsors for custom
Yeah, we've
suits.
got some incredible sponsors, and I didn't even bring the list, but we've got some amazing, like California Closets is doing like a $10,000
Mhm.
closet
Oh,
giveaway. Where
okay.
we've
Oh,
got Stock and Trade and
yeah.
Jess and Gray Living that are going to be
Mhm.
$10,000 giveaway. So it's
Yes.
going to be there's going to be some exciting things. We have some sponsors that have come in, but we need some more.
Yeah.
We've it's gonna be we'll have some live auction and some silent auction
Hmm.
stuff, and a lot of giveaways. So
Hmm.
we have sold a lot of tickets, but the
Hmm.
good thing is we got
You
75,000
can
square feet, so we
sell
can pack them in there.
many, many more.
Yeah,
Well, we'll be able to put up all the list of all the sponsors and then
yeah.
call for more sponsors and get this podcast out as soon as possible because it is almost a month away.
I know it's coming up
4-week
fast.
countdown as of next week.
Yeah,
Yeah, next
yeah,
week.
next
Okay.
week.
And Harlan's going to be there, right?
Yes,
And
Harlan's
does he
making a
know that
presentation.
this is sort of his party?
No,
He doesn't.
because it's Harlan's world and we're
Okay.
just living in it.
Okay.
So this is just a regular day.
Really?
Couple hundred people
Yeah,
around.
visiting him.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
nothing.
yeah. Oh,
Whatever,
wow.
just another day for him.
Wow. So you still have 5 locations, right?
Well, in all, we have about 9 or so between
Okay.
Jess and Gray's. Yeah, we're in
Okay.
Birmingham. We have a couple, Atlanta, Nashville,
Okay.
Alex City near Lake Martin in
Okay.
Alabama, Spanish Fort, and
Yeah, that's amazing.
yes.
And that's all been in how many years?
I started business in '09
Oh, no. That's
during
amazing. Yeah.
a bad economy.
That's amazing. Testament to you.
Yeah,
Kudos to you.
I
That
just had
that
to
was quite the
reinvent the wheel.
yeah, quite the feat that you did for sure. Anything else that you want to talk about, like in regards to stock and trade? I know that you have programs for the trades, for interior designers, right?
Yeah.
And architects and builders too.
Yes.
Yes.
Hmm.
And any other programs that you have, just to make sure that everybody knows all that stock and trade is so that they can patronize.
Yeah, we have the strongest trade program that's out there, and the reason is because we're also a wholesale company. The RW Collective is our wholesale side, and we have 9 brands of wholesale. And so, what we do in the retail side is that for developers and trade people, they're able to buy directly through the retail
Okay.
stores at wholesale pricing.
That's fantastic.
And so that is really what's kind of made us different. And,
Mhm.
it's, and what's exciting about it is that we even have designers that have projects that need something specific. They can sketch it out on a napkin. We can give it to our AutoCAD drafters and send it to the factory in Indonesia. And, within a couple days, have a drawing back and we can do custom furniture and
Do you
it's
think
not
they know
custom
about it? Do you
prices.
think a lot of our interior designers in the area know about it?
No,
Okay, so that's
so
definitely
few
something
know
to get
about it.
the word out for sure. And then, so it's kind of fascinating to me that you have factories in Indonesia, China.
Yeah, we do. We do. We import from India.
Mm.
Indonesia is our largest. We do, and my partner, we have a factory in Indonesia with about 67 employees. And then we also import from Vietnam, Malaysia, and we travel to these
Mm.
locations and find some resources, and we just always want to bring kind of a new perspective, to things
Mhm,
and
mhm,
kind of push the trend on stuff.
mhm,
And that's why it goes back to the very beginning. Like I'm not real worried about what everybody else is doing. We're
mm,
just kind of always trying to like push a little bit and
mhm,
blaze a path
mhm.
ourselves, and we're able to test some things out, and we have a wholesale showroom up in High Point, North Carolina, that we show at market, and
Wow.
we get feedback from stuff. Some stuff we
Mm,
send to retail first and
mm,
test out the market before it ever goes to wholesale.
mhm.
And it's fun, it's really
Amazing.
exciting.
Yeah, amazing. Well, when I started the magazine 16 years ago, I wanted it to be the antidote of media, conventional media. I wanted it to tell good stories and not talk about bad stories at all because there was enough of that on the news then, and there's much more on the news now. And I wanted to share stories about the everyman, not just celebrities, because the everyman, like you and I, are doing so many things, you more than me, that are so good and enriching. And I wanted a platform so that people could hear those stories. And so when I was thinking about getting ready to meet you today, I was thinking of that, taking me back to my roots and taking me back to being able to tell good stories with a good man that's doing amazing things. And I just thank you so much. And it's an honor to basically know you and actually be able to tell this story.
Well, thank you, and your story is amazing. I've really enjoyed getting to know everything that you've done, so
Thank you. Thank you so
I'm
much.
looking forward to working with you.
Yeah, we are so looking forward to it. Yeah, we're all jazzed about it. And, we're in it. We're in your camp to make this thing happen for sure. Well, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Everyone, I hope you enjoyed this story. Please consider one, attending the Gatsby because it's going to be the party of the year. Number two, to think about seriously donating to this very good cause and making this Michael's vision and dream a reality with Harlan's Place. Have a good day, everybody. Thank you so much. Bye bye.